Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley Lanese and I blend motivation with spirituality so that you can get the best benefit out of it. Today's video is on the power of vulnerability and why it is one of the key tips to confidence, key tips to motivation, key tips to spiritual alignment, and actually something that leaders do in a common misconception that people think is like a submissive thing rather than a dominant thing. Let's get started. So the first thing that I wanted to bring up is that vulnerability is experiencing life and expressing what you feel at that moment and letting it just flow off of you. Vulnerability means just being yourself, just showing people your instant reaction to a situation and allowing your heart to be open, allowing your emotions to be this animated thing that people see you flow through. Vulnerability means putting yourself out there. Despite the risk, the outcome, anything like that, you're just doing that. A lot of people think confidence is when you are tough and not vulnerable and you've got this harder exterior, and that's an interesting concept, but think about it. How come when you're in a room full of people, you gravitate towards one person? You're like, oh, that person's confident. And when you're in a room full of people, most of the time, depending on where you're at, but confidence is a scarce thing. It's because we've got all these limiting beliefs about confidence. We've got these outdated beliefs that we think confidence is toughness. It's tough to be vulnerable. It's a strength to show your vulnerability. We love people who are animated, who express their emotions, who show these things to other people. When you tell a story, get into the roles of each story. Embody them. Be vulnerable. Put yourself out there. Because when you hide, you hinder. Really let that sink in. When you hide, you hinder. People try to hide. They try not to be vulnerable. You're limiting yourself. You're hindering yourself. You're stopping positive things from coming into your life because maybe you're scared of failure. Maybe you think being tough is the way to go. Vulnerability is one of the most attractive, sexiest, powerfulest things that there are in this universe. And when I started my journey on spirituality, on confidence, on charisma, I thought that confidence and being a powerful person was being egotistical, like I'm tough, and I realized I was so wrong. Being confident means being vulnerable. Being confident means being able to make mistakes in front of people. We value people who can make mistakes in front of us because battle scars are attractive. Battle scars are sexy. We're into that. It's relatable. When you have flaws, it's relatable. When you're vulnerable, you're gonna make mistakes. You are. You're gonna mess up a little. But nobody likes someone who's always perfect anyway. Confident people actually make mistakes. They're just putting themselves out there. They're just ripping their heart open and they're like, see it. I have a heart just like you. And some people might come along and just stab it. But what's gonna happen is someone just comes along, stabs it, it's gonna hurt, but you're gonna grow. It's like going to the gym. It's a muscle. Everything's a muscle. Vulnerability is a muscle. And if you hide, you hinder because you're just hiding. You're not using your vulnerability and you're not growing. You can't grow. You can't spiritually transform until you're vulnerable, until you get to the root of your childhood issues at a grounded state, and I have other videos on those if you want to search my channel and check those out. But just being vulnerable and animated and showing people how you feel about something and putting yourself out there will expand your consciousness because the universe operates in the law of giving. When you're vulnerable, you're giving. You're giving these elements of your soul to the world. You're showing people, this is me. I'm learning, I'm growing. And when someone comes along and stabs you, even if it's just with a comment or something like that, your heart is learning how to heal those things. Your vulnerability muscle is expanding and growing. You get tougher. Like when I first started on TikTok, some of the comments I got were mean. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And now, if I see a mean comment, it just doesn't land the same because I've had so many of them that it's like I've grown my muscle. My muscle to deal with that has grown. So being vulnerable, going through the emotional roller coaster is going to help you spiritually transform because you're going to understand yourself. It's going to help you with your motivational process because when you're vulnerable, you can really motivate yourself. You're really like, you're aware. When you're vulnerable with yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm not getting stuff done, you're like, all right, let's do it. Let's get it done today. But when you hide and you're not vulnerable and you're trying to be tough, trying to pretend everything's all right, you can't see that. And then when it comes to confidence, when you're vulnerable in a room setting, people gravitate towards that. They're like, oh, that person's just like me. I hide that stuff, but they're just like me. They just made a mistake. They just tripped over the words. And if you are that confident person trying to talk, yada, 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 whatever, then you're like, oh, man, I just tripped over my words. So what I'm trying to explain is like, maybe there's someone sitting, listening to the person who's trying to be vulnerable speak. When you obviously point out, oh, I just tripped over my words, they're like, wow, this person sitting here is like, wow, I would never even have said that. Even though they can tell that's what you're doing. And that's another confidence tip, like point out the obvious. When you're trying to be confident or trying to be one certain way, maybe just trying to express something, point out the obvious. Like for example, I've been making these videos and I can feel that I'm tapping into more of an alignment as I'm making them. But I also know I'm probably making mistakes and not articulating to the best of my ability exactly what I'm trying to say. Like my soul is trying to express all of this to you, but I'm learning and I'm being vulnerable and I just want to share that energetic vibration with you and let you know it is okay. You will evolve as you be vulnerable. You're gonna shed layers. You're gonna shed layers. You're gonna learn what works and what doesn't work. When you stop hiding, you start seeing. You can't see if you're hiding. You're hiding. You can't see. So being vulnerable is the act of stepping into the sunlight, looking at yourself in the reflection, and really seeing. It is such a powerful tool for all of the topics that have to do with my channel, but just have to do with your internal growth. And I want you to know, if no one's ever told you, it is okay to be vulnerable. And whatever you think is holding you back from vulnerability, usually it's pain. People are scared to be hurt. I want you to know, one, most of the time it's not going to hurt as much as you think. We're really good at psychically attacking ourselves. But two, you're gonna grow from it. You're gonna grow. Keep being vulnerable. You're gonna grow. So that is all that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way until the end. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. I love them. And subscribe to my channel if this is content that you like. Give this video a like so that it can help other people unlock the vulnerability power. And I will see you all in the next video.